Update. How do I, 24 male, get my dad, 52 male, to realize his wife, 38, is not my mom and to quit pressing a relationship? Original post. My mom passed when I was 14. I was always closer with her than my dad, so I took it very hard and still missed her every day. My dad moved on extremely quickly. I'm talking about 1.5 months later and he was already openly dating his current wife. I even suspect he was cheating on my mom. She moved in 4 months after my mom's death. The 9 months after her death, they announced their engagement on my birthday as one of my gifts. I obviously didn't take it well, made a scene and dumped the cake they got me and walked out. I disappeared for a few days until they were about to put on a missing persons/runaway report and I was forced to go back. They tried to get rid of all evidence of my mom, pictures, personal effects, memories, and others. I kept what I could and hid some others. They wouldn't let me celebrate her birthday or anything to do with my mom. Then they tried to force me to call her mom, but I never did. But they would ignore me when I call her by her name. She would introduce herself as my mom. I would correct her every time. It got to the point that I stopped talking to her unless absolutely necessary or if I was correcting her. These talks were usually one-word answers. My dad got angry every time I didn't call her mom, use her first name, or introduce her as dad's wife. I once spent 2 weeks not talking to either of them when I was 16 because I was ruining her family dynamic. Said that until I can be a part of the family, there was nothing to say or do as one. Though they caved at about the 15th day of no communication/interaction. I turned 18 and left for uni and went extremely low contact and didn't go back. When I was 21, I got engaged to my fiancé. She knows about my relationship with my dad and his wife, and she respects it and is on my side. When they found out, my dad and his wife had a fit. They didn't know I was seeing anyone. Then my dad's wife posted on social media saying she was excited that her son, me, was getting married, along with a bunch of other things, like saying she can't wait until she becomes a grandma. I made a short post saying I am not and never was her son and she won't be a grandma to any future kids. My dad got mad, saying I was disrespecting my mother and embarrassed her. I asked who we were talking about because my only mother was the one who gave me life. And at this point, I lost both of my parents on the day when I was 14. That was 3 years ago, and we went back to low/no contact. But now my wife is about 8 months pregnant. They showed up to my house, though I never gave them my address. They wanted to talk and meet my wife. I didn't let them in, and said to turn around and go back to where they came from. But apparently, they decided they wanted to move to my city/state to be closer, and repair the relationship between us. She said she missed her son and wanted to be a better mom and grandma. I called them delusional and told them to leave and slam the door. They ended up buying a house about 5 minutes away from us. This has all been way too much for me, and my therapist wants me to let them in. But I would rather cut all contact. It wouldn't be so bad if they just would stop trying to replace my mom and act like she never existed. I honestly don't know much about my dad's wife. I don't even know if I know who my dad is anymore. My wife is struggling to support me emotionally and doesn't know how to help. Please, internet strangers, how do I convince them that she is not and will never be my mom? Edited to Ed. About my therapist. He said I should try to express my true feelings towards them in a non-hostile and threatening manner. Do it in a way that is constructive but gets to the point. Learn more about my dad and his wife and get to the root of who they are and how they feel about the situation. Now for the top comments before reading the update. I didn't let them in and said to turn around and go back to where they came from. You have the right to set and enforce this boundary if this is what you want. My therapist wants me to let them in. Why does your therapist want you to do this? Yes, your therapist is so freaking out of line. Please get a new therapist that's actually experienced in dealing with narcissistic parents. I'm concerned that your current therapist might try to contact your parents for an impromptu family therapy session that they conveniently blindside you with because you need to let them in. Nope. Also, if moving is an option, consider it. At the very least, see if you can get a no-contact order or something like that, and get cameras installed on your property. Given the level of delusion, I wouldn't be surprised if your mom ramps things up once the baby is born and resorts to attempting to take your baby for snuggle time at grandma's. There's a story from Just No Mother-in-Law where some lunatic stole her grandbaby in the middle of the night like she had permission and like it was actually cute and not heart attack inducing for a daughter-in-law. Your therapist is completely disregarding the issue here, attempts to replace your birth mother and bullying you emotionally to achieve this. Definitely get another therapist. Contact a lawyer. You can prove no contact and unwanted behavior, like turning up unannounced and buying property near you. This is stalking, and you can get a restraining order. Yes, OP needs a new therapist. Why is he disregarding everything you've been through, OP? I would not trust these people around my kids, OP. They sound delusional. I'm so sorry you had to go through all of this. Please take care of yourself and your pregnant wife. I'm 9 months pregnant. I don't talk to my dad at all, and my husband loathes him. He was a horrible husband to my mom and didn't even come to her funeral. If he suddenly showed up at my door with his wife, I would have honestly probably gone into premature birth with all that stress. Crappy parents suck. I loved my mom too. And your family now is your priority. Do what you need to protect them. You do not owe these people anything. Nothing at all. Went through something similar. Mom passed away when I was 13. Dad started dating one of her friends within a month and ended up marrying my mom's old boss. My grandfather said he didn't even wait for her body to get cold. That's how fast he moved on. I'm 40 now and haven't seen or spoken to my father since I was 26 or so. Best decision I made. In the end, you set who you want to be in contact with and who you don't. Stand firm and don't give in. I would also find another therapist who understands your situation. Your father and his wife's actions sound insane. Just to move to be closer without reconnecting slowly and properly is a red flag to me. Be careful, but I would keep my distance and possibly even look into a restraining order if they keep coming around. Now for the update. Hello all. Thanks for your comments and feedback. I did read them all. I couldn't reply for some reason. Also, for those who said I must be fake because of a lack of replies/updates, the post got so much attention that it was locked in 24 hours. I do have a life with work and an 8-month pregnant queen that I have the privilege of calling my wife that took priority. To answer some questions and to clarify, my wife, me and our unborn child are doing good overall. My wife is over being pregnant at this point, but our child should be here in the coming weeks. I did find a new therapist. I called to cancel the rest of my appointments on the books, and he did not take that well. So I have to put in a complaint. I met with my new one, and I like her a lot better. I feel like I'm actually being heard and actually getting the help I needed. I want to make this clear. I am 24. My dad's wife is 38, so 14 years older than me. My dad is 52, also 14 years older than his wife. So when she entered my life, I was 14 and she was 28. There were also theories about how my dad might have something to do with my mom's death. Though it's not the case, I still believe they were together before she passed. I am investing in a security system, but it will be a few weeks until they can install it. But for now, we have a doorbell cam and some cheaper cameras. As for social media, since the post about her being excited about being a grandma and how my wife and I getting engaged, we have locked down all social media. My wife and I are not active in any platforms anymore, except for messaging or sharing pictures. We found a leak as well. It is my brother-in-law, my wife's sister's husband. We had a family dinner where we had planned on working on a birthing plan, and brother-in-law was insistent on being there, which was odd as he was not part of it to begin with. While we were waiting for my mother-in-law to get home, I shared what happened between my dad and how it made me/my wife feel. Brother-in-law got visibly uncomfortable. When we called him out on it, he denied it, but it was obvious. Sister-in-law called him out too, and he broke down. He said he had been talking with them because we need all the family support we can get, and they should know their grandbaby. This caused an argument, which ended with sister-in-law moving out and staying with us. They have no kids and had some issues, and I think it is over for them. I will never trust him. Our birthing plan has been locked down and secure, made a day later without brother-in-law, but we have some just-in-case of crazy showing-up plans. Everyone who needs to know the plans/details, know. Now, it is surprisingly hard to get a protection order. Where we live, it is heavily dependent on violence or physical contact. Technically, what they have done is not against the law yet. They are perceived as no real danger at this time since there were no threats made, and they left when asked to. They have free will to move wherever they want. Also, since a family member gave another family member my address, it is fair game. In regards to grandparents' rights, it is only when my wife and I have lost custody or are unable to care for them, but my mother-in-law and father-in-law will be taking on that role if needed. My wife and I are not in a position to move. We just bought our house when interest rates were low, and my in-laws helped with the down payment. It is nothing massive, but it is home and perfect for our starting family. My dad and his wife are unable/shouldn't have kids. I don't know what side made it impossible, so that may be why the constant pressure. I did write my dad a letter summing up why I want no contact, how I feel about what they did, how his wife is not my mom and will never be, that if I feel like giving them a chance, it is on my/my family's terms. Specified that my family is me, my wife, and any possible children moving forward. They are not to talk to my wife or I at any time, unless it is through our lawyer. He can then decide what information to pass on. They are not welcome around us at any point, including our house, school, daycare, social gatherings, birthdays, Christmas, barbecues, etc. As well as in public, we are strangers. Keep space and act like we don't exist. If they break this, they will get a follow-up letter, up to and including a protection order. The letter was quite long. Our lawyer looked over it, and my wife and I signed it. Then he signed it as well as it being notarized, and then we made legal copies for all of our records. My lawyer went with a private delivery service and hand-delivered it to him with a signature of received goods, plus video evidence as well. So far, so good at that end. I'm now focused on my wife and soon-to-be child. I hope I'm ready. I know how not to be a father, so there is that. Thanks all for your input. Is there anything else I should do or think of to protect my family? Reddit is a great place to think of all wacko possibilities, and it sounds like you did a great job covering your bases. Now you enjoy your growing family and give your wife flowers and foot rub just because. Be prepared for the sleepless nights and the overwhelming feeling of being miserably tired and yet completely happy at the same time. Last story. I'm watching my dad be a better father to his stepdaughters. My mom and dad never had a healthy marriage, and my dad was super absent. He worked a lot and would come home angry more often than not. He took that out on us. He did a lot of terrible things to my sister, my mom, and me, but it wasn't always bad, and I guess that's the hard part. They eventually got a divorce. A year later, he married a woman he barely knew without even telling my sister and I, while her daughters were invited. This made me decide to go no contact because I felt disrespected, and my sister did as well. He and my sister have rekindled their relationship, but keep each other at arm's length. I held a grudge until my boyfriend proposed, and I decided to be the bigger person and invite him to my wedding. I unblocked him on Facebook, only to see his cover photo is of him and his stepdaughters, both around my sister's age, with a caption about how they meant the world to him. He'd never posted anything about me or my sister like that. I scrolled through his page, and I wish I didn't. I just hurt myself more. He took them to Hawaii. He never bothered going on vacation with us because he always wanted to take his vacation to go hunting alone. He got them dogs while he took my dog to the pound when I was at school one day because it barked too much. He gave one of them a family heirloom that we got screamed at over if we even came near it. It just hurts because I got a lot of good things from him, like my sense of humor, my love for cheesy action movies, and talkative nature. But I also got a lot of trauma, a lot of pain, and a lot of neglect. It would be easier if all the memories were bad, because that would make it easier than seeing him play Dad of the Year with two girls who aren't even his. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Screw him. You're better than him. He has to raise someone else's children and you're getting married. Who actually cares about him anymore? Live your life. He clearly failed his. So why bother? Yes, screw him. I'm really glad I found the best guy ever. I'm looking forward to having children of my own that both have parents that love them very much. Thank you. My husband and I both have crappy parents. He hasn't spoken to his mother in 25 years, for example. I'm 41 and he's 48, and we have a daughter about to turn 8 years old who we adore. We learned so much about how not to parent from our crappy parents. Honestly, my husband, despite growing up with an awful alcoholic mother and absent incompetent father, is the most amazing dad. Literally, from the minute our daughter was born, he was taking care of her, while I was separate from her in ICU. He did everything for her that first month while I recovered, and ever since has been at least an equal parent if not doing more with our daughter. And I have a completely different relationship with her than the one I had with my mom, who was cold, distant, and approachable and judgmental. My daughter and I are super close. I hug her every day and tell her that I love her. We talk about anything and everything, and she knows she can come to me for anything and I'll help her. All that crappy parenting stopped at our parents' generation, and we have actively broken that cycle and consciously avoid being anything like that. You too have learned a huge amount of how not to parent from your experience, and will hopefully have a fulfilling and loving relationship with your child/children in the future. It's awful what your dad has done. My cousin's father did exactly the same to them, and I remember how much it hurt them too. But it's shown you the type of parent you don't want to be, and how you've felt in all these experiences will have a huge influence on how you parent, as you'll understand how you felt when you were forgotten about and made to feel unimportant and replaceable. Your dad sucks. He must know that the way he's behaved would make you feel awful, and he's so selfish and self-centered that he doesn't care and still does it. You owe him nothing. He hasn't been a good father and doesn't seem to care about that. He's not remorseful nor trying to repair things, so why should you care for him and his feelings? I'm sorry that he can't be the father you want and deserve. If it doesn't bring anything positive to your life, it only causes angst and stress, it is perfectly okay and understandable to cut him out of your life. You don't have to allow him access to keep hurting you. Best of luck with your wedding and creating your own beautiful family. I'm so sorry to hear that. Hope you're living a good life right now. I actually am. My life is great outside of being upset about this. Thank you for being so sweet though. Now for the update. Wow guys, I'm overwhelmed by your support. It means a whole lot to me. I've teared up reading your replies, and I wish I had the time to reply to each and every one of you. You're all such kind souls. I'm so sorry we, meaning myself and all the people who commented with a similar story, have to live with this. But we will overcome it and be better without them. For the record, he is definitely uninvited to my wedding. I actually hadn't sent him an invite yet, so I just saved myself from having to rescind it. I've blocked him again, and I'm back to pretending I just have one parent. Either my mom or my sister will walk me down the aisle.